hope everybody's okay with English. Excellent. First of all, I just want to apologise. We were due to have a presentation, but due to some technical difficulties, we don't have one. So you guys are going to put up with me speaking for a little bit, and if anybody's got any questions, feel free to let me know, and I will jump in and answer them as best I can. First of all, let me go through a little bit of what we call housekeeping. What I'm going to do today is talk to you about why cryptocurrency needs a better type of lawyer. If I speak too quickly, or you need me to slow down, let me know. I am English, but I live in California, so I've developed this terrible accent, and sometimes I speak too quickly. So I apologise for that. The second thing is I am a lawyer, but I am not your lawyer. So anything I speak about is not legal advice for you. So if I tell you to do something, don't run out and do it. It is just me talking to you. Let me introduce you to me. There's usually a slide with lots of things on there, but I'm going to go through it. I'm an international lawyer. I'm qualified in various jurisdictions: England, America, Ukraine. I do a lot of speaking in crypto. As you can tell, I write. I recently wrote The Little Book of Crypto, work with governments and legislators. Recently been working with the government of Paraguay, governments of Estonia, Dubai and Malta. If any of you are familiar with Labuan, which is in Malaysia, we recently wrote the legislation on security tokens there. I draw the distinction between a cryptocurrency lawyer and a lawyer that works in crypto. I'm a former. I'm a cryptocurrency lawyer. That's all I do. Rates for Crypto Daily, Cointelegraph, and some other articles as well. One of the reasons I want to speak to you about why crypto deserves a better type of lawyer is because of that distinction I gave a moment ago. The difference between lawyers that work in crypto, lawyers that work in crypto and cryptocurrency lawyers. I've seen in the industry a lot of companies that have very good intentions and people that trade. Many of you will trade crypto and you will not be sure whether what you're doing is either legal or tax effective. And they're very different things. And one of the things I explain to people, and I have been saying today, is when you are trading cryptocurrencies, you will often have to pay tax on those trades. And one of the things that we do is help people make it more tax effective. These are just some small examples of things that we do to help people. But first of all, look, I mean, what we need to do is we need to really understand what crypto is to understand why it needs a better kind of lawyer. A lot of people hear about cryptocurrencies and they instantly think Bitcoin. Now, whether you trade or whatever it is that you do, the first thing I try and tell people is that there is so much more than just Bitcoin. There are different types of cryptocurrency, different styles of cryptocurrency. And these mean different trading styles, different trading patterns, different companies, and different uses. And so, whenever I explain to people about what cryptocurrency can do, it's kind of incredible. Cryptocurrencies allow cross-border transactions. They let you, here in Vietnam, pay people in, for example, Malaysia or Hong Kong, with very little fees. And for the first time in history, since we used the gold coin, something of currency, a unit of currency, this expression we use, is worth the same in Vietnam as it is in London or as it is in New York. So you don't have to deal with currency fluctuations where currencies change different prices. And this is massively, massively advantageous for people that are just trying to pay for services and goods. And what this ultimately means is that in a world where people are trying to be free with their money, we're going back in time. Since we used gold, that was the last time we had this amount of trading freedom. And that comes with its own challenges. So when people say to me, what is cryptocurrency? How is it different from what I'm maybe already trading? there's a lot more behind it. Gives you a lot more capability and a lot more ability to do some really cool and exciting stuff. And it kind of has some fundamental principles to it. If we talk about stocks, shares, OTC trading, anything like that, it's very financial. Cryptocurrency carries with it something that's a lot more interesting. It has a community. We use this word community. And what community ultimately means is it's people helping people. It's peer-to-peer. And so you can buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrencies together, each other directly. And the belief that people should be able to trade freely is fundamental. It's really important to cryptocurrencies. And there's another piece to this that people talk about very often, and that's cryptographic raises. So IEOs, ICOs, when you're looking to raise money and generate funds for a company, for the first time, you're able to generate funds without sacrificing a percentage of your company. Now, typically, if you want to raise money, what you do is you go to a venture capital firm or a private lender and you say, look, I have a fantastic idea. And what I want to do is I want to raise money to build my company. And what they say in return is, that sounds great. How much of your company are you going to give us? Now, with a cryptographic raise, that doesn't happen. What you're able to do is you're able to sell tokens without security tokens, but utility tokens that literally enable you to raise funds, help people invest in the project, not in a financial sense, but in a physical sense, and really become engaged. So this is where we meet this level of community. And what we see and what happens is, a lot of lawyers that we typically have encountered in this industry don't understand how important that really is. Being able to raise funds, without selling a percentage of your company is like being able to create something amazing without sacrificing anything. Now, in order to do that, you have to stay incredibly compliant. And we see companies from all over the world, including here in Vietnam, raise funds to develop something that's kind of incredible. And I give people the example, I use two examples that I have. A VR firm that we worked with and a medical device firm that we worked with. Now the VR firm, virtual reality firm, developed a headset. They were based out of Asia, and they developed a headset to help doctors that were training in Africa to undertake more specific surgeries. So they provided a way for doctors to train and help save lives, but ultimately they couldn't raise the capital to do it without losing stuff, without losing a percentage of their company. And if you're an inventor, you want to keep what you've made. And we helped them raise a couple of $1 million to get this to Africa. And typically, a typical lawyer and a typical model would see you selling a large percentage of equity in your company to hopefully get where you want to be. And for once, I'm going to say something that not a lot of lawyers say. That's wrong. I think if you build something and you develop something, you should keep it. And you shouldn't let something like money be the reason why you lose your company. And that's kind of fundamental. If we think about where we are, in an age of Silicon Valley and other companies that can raise millions of dollars on an idea, it kind of stands to reason that a company that's just trying to help doctors should be able to do something similar. And what we see whenever we deal with other law firms and whenever we've encountered other lawyers is they have this idea of billing out. I'm sure a lot of you, if you're keeping up with what I'm saying, are that you deal with lawyers and you've had to deal with them in the past and they like to bill hours. And there's nothing worse to a startup company that's bootstrapping, this expression bootstrapping, starting up with limited money, trying to get legal help. And so a lot of what we do is take the concept that they're running with, for example, we stick with this VR firm, and we help them for very minimal fees. And that's why it sticks with the ethos ethos, of crypto, because what it means is that companies can get help, and they can get the help that they need. And we see a lot of current law firms try and put cryptocurrency in a box. They treat it like it's a terrible commodity, like it's bad for people, because a lot of regulators and a lot of legislators haven't made up their mind on it. And what we say to people is, look, this isn't a bad thing, right? Just because there's no law doesn't mean it's a bad thing. You're not breaking the law just because you choose to engage in crypto. And what effectively this means is we see big law firms seeing it as nothing more than a money-making opportunity. They throw up these blockchain departments and blockchain divisions that are ultimately just looking for those billing hours. Now, another thing that stands to reason with crypto firms and cryptocurrencies working with lawyers is we see that a lot of lawyers will stick with what they know. And by that I mean a lot of lawyers will come from the finance world and try and impart their knowledge and put their knowledge onto the crypto world. And what this ultimately means is that they're selling old solutions for new problems. It's kind of the same old junk. It just means that they're trying to say to you, look, because you're a trader, you trade in crypto, you've got to stick with the same laws that the guys who are dealing with, for example, OTC trades, or stocks, shares, bonds, whatever it is. But what we're seeing is, and all you've got to do is look outside today, and you'll see that a lot of organisations here aren't regulated. And they're not regulated not because they're trying to be evasive, not because they're trying to break the rules, but because ultimately they don't need to be regulated. And while regulation is a good thing, it's a positive thing, cryptocurrency is so international that trying to regulate all of it is impossible. It is impossible. You can regulate segments, but you could never regulate the whole thing. And what that ultimately means is we see this big conflict of interest of people within the community who are trying to just trade, trying to raise money, trying to develop ideas. And those people that come from the old school way of thinking saying, well, no, hang on, you haven't got a license for that, or you need to do this. Not understanding that what's actually happening is we've had a monumental shift, where people are helping people with ideas. And ultimately, people helping people is what business is all about. You sell your product or service because there's a need. If somebody doesn't need your product or service, you don't help anybody. You're not building anything, you're not developing anything, so you don't raise funds. And so, it means that ultimately, cryptocurrencies are filling this void. And out of that void has become a whole new market. We're seeing exchanges. We're seeing mining firms, we're seeing crypto media, we're seeing events that are coming out of this industry. And those law firms, and those lawyers that aren't keeping up, that are still trying to put it in this box, as I call it, are not helping the industry. They're not helping people in it, they're not helping companies that are serving it, and they're not helping people to remain compliant within it. And ultimately, that stifles, that stops creativity. It stops people helping people, which ultimately lawyers and regulators, they're not supposed to do. They're supposed to help people. And so that's why a lot of what we see and a lot of what we've structured and built and rebuilt is companies that are just simply trying to survive. They're trying to generate funding, they're trying to operate within a market space and stay as legally compliant as they can. And in fact, one of the things I've heard a lot today from speaking to people is that they trade. They trade, they're based here in Vietnam, and there's no laws in Vietnam on cryptocurrency. And I say, well, that's not a bad thing. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't need a lawyer. What it means is that what you're doing has a lot more freedom. And then we begin introducing different elements to that. If you're a good trader and you're good at what you're doing, some people want to do that for other people. Some people want to take their success and help other people make money. Then you create a fund. Then you need the services of a brokerage firm. Then you need a lawyer that's going to help. And so we see this entire industry build an ecosystem that comes out of it. And that's hugely important. That's massively important. And so whenever you hear people speak and you listen to what's being said on this stage today, or wherever it is, the one thing I say to people is, look, cryptocurrency is a journey. It's not like anything else we've ever seen before. And it scares regulators, and it scares a lot of bodies today. When some crypto exchanges are raising more money than banks that have been around for 300 years, that kind of says something very quickly. And so if you're trying to keep up with it and you're trying to do it, I say to everybody, look, stay as compliant and as legally safe as you can, because that's rule number one, right? You protect you protect your business, you protect your family. Rule number two is make some money, build your business, chase your dream, because for the first time, like I said a moment ago, for the first time, you are able to create something and build something, raise funds, work in an industry, and develop a peer-to-peer network that we've kind of never seen before. And that is remarkable. And so whenever you do business in this industry, that leaves a situation where you have to check everybody that you deal with, check everybody. Check what you're doing is safe, and then make sure that it is as future-proofed as you possibly can make it, so that you're not coming and going and you're not just running around with things. And what I want to do to summarize, guys, to wrap up and to conclude, is to just say, look, if you are working within the crypto industry and you have an interest in cryptocurrency, which is why you're here, you need to step away from everything you already know in business, in finance, in legal. Rewrite the playbook and go back to basics. Do these people do what I need them to do? Are they as legally compliant as they can be? Are they going to assist my business? Don't take the word of things that you hear from people. Actually do your due diligence. Ask questions. Find out more about them. Because this is a community, find out where they stand on crypto. And then as the community grows, as things begin to expand, what you'll find is that you've put yourself in a position where you've kept as safe as you can be while growing your market. And then, of course, if you need legal services and you need legal protection, get a good lawyer. And I hope you find a good one, which I would recommend Gresham International, by the way. And if you have any questions, guys, come up, ask me. We have a booth in the corner, we have a stand in the corner. Come up, find me, ask any questions that you've got. And for those of you that are interested in crypto, but you're perhaps not too sure, check out the book, The Little Book of Crypto. I wrote that this year. It's now available on Amazon, and it's coming to some big bookstores later as well. Guys, thank you for your time, and thank you for putting up with listening to just me talking. Thank you.